Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Simon. Hey Bryan, a band that is in my opinion far too unknown. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for your analysis. Greetings from Germany. We're going to be checking out a song called Devastator by the band Devil Sold His Soul. Let's dive in, see what they're bringing to the table today. Really taking its time with this intro and feeling. Are we in 1716? Really stark changes between the highs and the lows on this track so far. Very cool phrasing there. That's actually the end of 8 going into beat 1 and it continues on that hangover. Our first beat's actually on beat 2. The tremolo drone in the background really provides this tension to go along with all the rhythmic elements in that. A sorrowful feeling of feeling lost. This compressed clean too on the vocals. All right. Yeah, dude, when did this come out? 2014. So this is an older album. They've had a few albums too. Their latest one, oh wow, they had a single come out last year. They're very sporadic. They have a lot of gaps in their release. Their latest album was from 2021. This EP was from 2024. Or sorry, this EP was from 2014, but they also have a 2024 EP. Nope, that's just a single. Wow, it's all over the place, is what I'm trying to get at. Their first album was 2005. I might have to dig into these guys though, because I think they have a really neat midpoint between post-hardcore and post-rock, and kind of bringing those two sides together, focusing on a lot of ambience and atmosphere while still having the driving, heavy-hitting guitar riffs and shouty vocals that I like about post-hardcore. Yeah, dude, definitely underrated though. I'm glad this was brought to my attention, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a few post-hardcore fans and maybe even post-rock fans in the community who will find this quite enjoyable as well. Let's kick off some analysis though. This song moves between two ideas. There's ambient lulls and heavy crushing highs. We kick off the song with at least a 1-minute intro, very ambient, lots of textures, longer held out notes. There's no melody here. It just kind of sets the scene for a vastness, like a soundscape, a visual landscape, maybe even, that just goes off in all directions. Not like, I mean, kind of like a desert, but not sand and all that stuff. It could be, I mean, it is a beautiful idea, but it's just endless. It's vast. We don't really lead this into anything. We just present this atmosphere. You enjoy it, and then there's a different atmosphere, and they take us into this next section. We have heavy drums, we have heavy guitar riffs, we have big punchy bass, we have vocals screaming here, and it's just, you are in this moment now. It is driving, it is heavy, it's groovy, and that's it. But it's still atmospheric. There is a general rhythm to it, or a general riffage going on that you could ascribe a melodic quality to, but aside from the vocals, which at least here are shouted or screamed, we do get clean vocals later for true melody, but the vocals are the most melodic element of this section. A lot of it is down to texture, rhythm, and harmony. The chordal ideas going on here. This is pretty typical for post-hardcore, but there's also the tremolo picking going on that's creating this drone in the background that creates this tension, this added tension to all of this weight, and provides this atmospheric component to everything. It's a really cool combination of sounds and a jarring contrast from the beginning of the song. The rest of this track follows suit. The third section is a massive reduction in energy, bringing us back down to something a bit more beautiful, vast, and open. And then that is contrasted with something heavy and grooving and forward momentum with syncopated guitar stuff and bass kick stuff and melody on the vocals. And we just jump back and forth between these two modes. I think it is impressive that they can achieve so many different sounds within them. The lulls are similar but not identical. They do present different feelings, and the different heavy parts all present different emotions to me as well. With the first one sort of coming across more aggressive as a type of anger or rage, while the last one is a bit more of a somber feeling of being lost, a melancholic inability to know which direction to take, which direction for your next step to be. Through that lens, it does tell a story despite really just moving between two ends of a pendulum, although there really is no midpoint. It's a teleportation between two ends of a pendulum. There are, though, weird metric things going on in here. The one that I picked up in the second heavy section was interesting because it's an 8-beat phrase. I'm sure it's 4/4. We're talking about 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But for the sake of this, I want to count it as 8 beats. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Here's the thing though. At the end of 8, so halfway between 8 and going to the one after it, we have a hit there. It's still technically in the bar we're in, not where we're going yet. We have a hit, and it's just kind of held over through beat 1 into half of a beat until beat 2, and then we have a light bass kick and then a strong emphasis on that beat 2. There is a massive gulf of just this note being held over. We sort of expect some sort of finality at the end of the phrase. So beat 8 should be wrapping things up, and we expect a start on beat 1. And we get neither of those. It actually threw me off for quite a bit, and I couldn't figure out what was going on in this section. And I think it was the 4th or 5th time through this cycle is like, oh, this is what's going on. We're starting the idea early or hanging on to the previous idea for much longer than you would expect. Whatever way you want to interpret it, we are connecting the end of the phrase with the beginning. It almost makes me want to go back and listen to the very first time this came in. It feels like one of those cycles that just doesn't have a beginning or an ending. It's really difficult to put a clean cut anywhere in there to understand how we might have began this phrase. That was wild. But even more bonkers, though, is the very first heavy section, which I still believe is 17/16. I need to go back and listen to it again. I could be wrong. If you count it out and it's different, let me know. But I was counting out in pockets of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I would get up to the 5th group of that, but the 6th group would only be 2 of those hits. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be 17/16 because I think these are 8th notes. So it'd be 17/8 though, which we can alternate like a bar of 8/8, which would be 4/4, and then a bar of 9/8, alternating that. Maybe that's what's going on there. It's wild though. It was really tough for me to figure that out, and I figured that out at the end of the phrasing, while we were moving into the next section. So I'm not even entirely sure that that's totally accurate. I was trying to wrap that up quickly and hear what else was going on. I almost missed the tremolo picking going on in there. So I didn't want to get too focused on that. But yeah, dude, you don't hear that too often in music. There's definitely a feeling of lurching forward, but also, once again, of kind of feeling lost. Now, granted, this is rhythmically feeling lost, and after multiple times through the song, you will feel less lost through here as you begin to anticipate ideas better. But I do think it's interesting how that lines up well with the emotional feeling of loss at the end of the track, which is more of a harmonic distinction of lost, which isn't going to get removed with repeat listens. That harmonic quality is always going to be there in that track. But I think it's interesting that even here at the beginning, I was already feeling like I was stumbling through the song. And they end on that same notion too. So that's pretty cool. I guess the last thing I want to touch on, I've kind of already talked about it a little bit, is the vocal diversity on this track. This guy can belt. He has a phenomenal, clean voice, just very powerful, very wide, great projection to it, and a ton of energy behind it. It's a very charismatic vocal delivery, but he also has that compressed clean in one of the heavier sections that I really liked, almost kind of shouty. We had the post-hardcore harsh at the beginning of the song. It's a very diverse vocalist. He's got a lot of skills, and it's not just, these distinct types. He seems to be able to blend them and find the sounds in between the harshes and the cleans. And that just creates a lot of variability and variety of timbres that he can create with his voice. And like I said, it's all very charismatic as well. There's a theatric element to it that sells it to me. I can feel this guy's emotions, whether it's the anger or the pain or anything in between. He does a great job at delivering all of that and playing alongside the atmospheres that the song goes through. It's a very emotional song. I think it does a great job of leaning into that, which honestly it needs to, given that there isn't a lot of melodic qualities to the track. It really is an atmospheric, emotional one. So leaning heavy into the emotional writing is what you got to do. Yeah. So let's hit some lyrics. This is a song about grief. It's about pain, but not in the realm that we typically explore on songs in the past that we've looked at. This is about dealing with the sins of the past, having them catch up to you and not outrunning them, having been a changed person. You're not who you once were, but you're still accountable for what you once did. And coming to terms with that as a person. And I really like that theme, but really it works phenomenally with this atmosphere, trying to find peace in moments and possibly doing so, but having anguish pop up soon after, always. The verse 1 says, "A hate that outweighs love, sold like water to the drowning." Just wonderful writing right there. The fact that when someone's drowning, they don't need water. Nobody needs hate so powerful that it can outweigh love, but people love to sell that. Selling hatred is one of the most easiest things you can do these days. And this is talking about selling it to yourself. It's just so good. It says, "A frozen core, a thickened skin that I have grown, detached and loveless, devoid and numb. You must first belong to betray, but I've done both, I fear." It's so elegantly written. You must first belong to betray, and I've done both. Verse 2 talks about being haunted. It says, "Faceless, sometimes I try to shake it until my heart and veins run dry. It's a reflection of a time that I long to not recall, but one that we can't let go." Verse 3 is where all of this comes to a head, and he really, says clearly what he feels about the situation he's put himself in. "For all of my faults, for all of my wrongs I lay bare, and at this time I'm just carrion to them." I am nutrition for all of the bad stuff I've done, for all of the wrong, the faults that I have. They eat me, they consume me, takes me over. I have all this guilt because of it. The bridge says, sure, I've bled, but I've always healed. I like this idea that your sins have caught up to you, right? Your mistakes of the past have affected you in ways, but you recover from them. Maybe you run just fast enough. Maybe you can escape the the repercussions, the real harsh repercussion. You just get a slap on the wrist every time. He says, but I don't believe I deserve to mend this time because all of my wrongs lay peripheral and they haunt me every single night. Yeah. This is somebody who did not care what they did in the past. There was a point when they hurt people and then kept marching forward. You don't look back because then you're going to get consumed. But eventually they reach a point where it's time for reflection to become someone different. You can't run your entire life. The point of humanity, of human existence, is to grow and evolve and change. If you're the same person you were 10 years ago, you're not living. And at this point in his life, he's changed. He's ready to make amends for his past, only to find that it's worse than he remembers. Everything's catching up to him, and he doesn't feel like he's worthy of redemption. Dude, talk about a heavy track. That sorrow that kicks in that final section, I think, is a beautiful movement away from more of the pure heavy angstiness of the first couple of heavy sections to really bring this around and somber it and mellow it out into this feeling of almost self-loathing, not for who you are now, but who you were. Yeah, dude, this is good stuff. I'm gonna have to dive more into Devil Sold His Soul. Never heard of them before, but they've made an impression on me today. These are my thoughts. Devil Sold His Soul, Devastator. What did you think of this track? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on if I misspoke about something? Do you have your own interpretation, opinion, or perspective on this track? Please put that down into the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. My voice is also deciding to leave. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.